WWE Executive Chairman Vince McMahon's fingerprints were reportedly all over last night's edition of Monday Night Raw, as they were Friday night on SmackDown 2, with his creative influence expected to grow even more once the merger between WWE and UFC under the Endeavor umbrella is completed later this year. Carmelo Hayes made his Monday Night Raw debut last night. WWE officials are reportedly ecstatic with the performance of the Judgment Day. Braun Strowman opens up on his current injury frustrations. Cody Rhodes' dog PHARAOH makes his Raw debut last night. The Miz attacks TOMMASO Ciampa, and an Intercontinental Championship match has been announced for this weekend's Money in the Bank event. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. Let's start off talking about Vince McMahon, and this story is getting quite regular and quite common, isn't it, at the moment? Because when it comes to Vince McMahon's influence on WWE's current creative direction, the changes just keep coming. After last week's drastic revisions to Raw, followed by this past Friday's significant changes ahead of SmackDown, PW Insider's Mike Johnson is reporting that last night's Raw from Savannah, Georgia, will have, quote, Vince McMahon's fingerprints all over it. PW Insider also noted, based on certain individuals they've spoken with, the belief is that McMahon's influence over their creative direction will only likely grow, particularly as we get closer to the acquisition by Endeavor becoming official. Last week, Friday, 3 previously advertised matches were cut entirely from the broadcast without so much as even a mention on the show, leading not only to frustration backstage, but social media responses from the likes of Bayley and Shotzi as well. And while McMahon is not physically present at any of these shows, he makes these changes remotely. He wasn't present last night in Georgia either. He's been making changes remotely ever since WrestleMania 39 to a varying level of degree. Last night's Raw, of course, was also the final show for the Red Brand before Money in the Bank this Saturday in London, England. And if there's one thing we can say with absolute certainty as we get closer to the premium live events, is that nothing is certain. So once again, Vince McMahon's influence continues to grow, and as I mentioned, it had been reported late last week that WWE were maybe trying to, or those within WWE were trying to find plans to how to stop Vince McMahon making these changes. Dave Meltzer addressed the recent changes and the backstage reaction to them on Wrestling Observer Radio, saying, quote, he redid the entire show, being SmackDown on Friday. I've heard a lot about this, and I know that there's rumors that everyone's got to be like treading on water, because I am sure logic will tell you there are many unhappy people, and Paul Levesque has to be one of them. These are matches that were built up with promos. They've been promoted for a week. They did angles last week, and then they just take them away like nothing. So it's got to be frustrating for the writers. It's got to be frustrating for Paul Levesque. But the thing is, it's Vince, right? And you can't say anything. That's when somebody brought up to me, if you're a writer, you can't say anything to Vince. Even if you're Paul Levesque, you can't say anything to Vince because you're effed if you say anything to Vince. So you can't say anything. They're trying to figure out a way to have him not do this. One person noted to me, like it would be a lot better if you did it the day before or 2 days before, but he's doing it the day of the show. Last Monday, the Monday before last night, wasn't bad. It was only he dumped the Seth Rollins and Ciampa match, and I know a lot of people who thought that was for the better because Finn Balor attacking Seth Rollins, it adds more heat to the pay-per-view. Meltzer would go on to discuss where McMahon's priorities are when it comes to the television product, stating, quote, yeah, you missed out on Seth Rollins and Ciampa, would have probably had a really good match. Ciampa would have lost, but it would have been, I think he would have benefited a lot more losing to Seth than he would have by beating The Miz. He didn't get anything out of beating The Miz, but he's not Vince's priority. Just like this week, whatever they were going to do with Shotzi and Bayley aren't Vince's priority. Cameron Grimes and Baron Corbin aren't Vince's priority. They added that Rey Mysterio LA Knight match for LA Knight to get a win, so obviously Vince has got to be somewhat high on LA Knight, and in Vince's eyes, Rey is a guy you always beat people because you will always get into his matches, and he's bulletproof and all that. As for McMahon's impact on the product, Meltzer would suggest that it's an obvious thing to see, concluding, quote, when I saw the unadvertised match when I was watching it, before I had even heard, it was like, this is Vince. I know Vince's MO with Rey. All these things that are advertised then don't happen in the last couple of weeks, they're always, or 90% of the time or more, they're Vince. But this was one of the most because it was 3 matches advertised, all pulled hours before the show, so there was a lot of frustration, but it's Vince. I'm sure there's going to be people who are going to try and ask him nicely, but it's Vince. He's going to do what he's going to do. So Vince McMahon, reportedly, his creative influence just continues to grow and will grow even more once the merger and acquisition by Endeavor is complete. Now, speaking of Raw last night, Carmelo Hayes made his Monday Night Raw debut after having Seth Rollins back last week. WWE NXT champion Carmelo Hayes had the World Heavyweight Champions back again on Monday night on Raw, when Finn Balor looked to send another message to the Visionary ahead of their championship match at Money in the Bank this Saturday. This time, though, it resulted in Hayes making his Raw debut in a singles match against the Prince. Hayes got off to a flying start, but Balor managed to take control during the commercial break and continued to impose his will when the broadcast returned. After a bit of back and forth, the NXT champion looked as though he was gaining the upper hand once more. Then, suddenly, Balor switched things up, dropping Hayes with a vicious dropkick in the corner before landing his signature coup de grace for a definitive and clean 1-2-3. On one hand, this can only help the momentum of Balor heading into this showdown with Seth Rollins in London. On the flip side, however, it'll be interesting to see what this loss does to Hayes as he's set to defend his NXT championship against Baron Corbin tonight on NXT. Now, he's actually spoken about this loss, Carmelo Hayes. He reflected on his main roster debut, admitting that he felt no shame in losing to one of the best wrestlers on the planet. He said, quote, "If I gotta take a loss to one of the best in the world, I can accept that," Hayes said. "But listen, the important thing is tonight, against Baron Corbin for the NXT Championship. I am not 100%, but I believe I can beat Baron at 75%, at 50%, or at 25%. I know he's gonna put up a great fight, but I'm ready, man. I might take a loss, but I look in the mirror and I'm still Carmelo Hayes. That's a W." So Carmelo Hayes still confident in facing off against Baron Corbin tonight on NXT. What did you make of Carmelo Hayes' in-ring debut on Monday Night Raw last night? Now let's switch gears and talk about the Judgment Day, because according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, WWE is ecstatic with the performance of every single member of the faction. If you couldn't assume it yourself, WWE, according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, are over the moon about the Judgment Day. Unfortunately, not many people can report things based on assumptions, but a WWE higher-up spoke to Fightful about the company's affection for the stable. Fightful was even told that Edge himself recognized that the Judgment Day was better suited in this iteration than the original plans had outlined. The higher-up spoke highly of each member, saying Finn Balor has been, quote, "very easy for WWE to work with throughout this process, as he molded to a variety of roles that the company has needed him for over the last year for the Judgment Day." Rhea Ripley was put over heavily for working through her knee issues that she's spoken about in the past publicly. However, her willingness to improve and help get everyone else over by contributing as a manager was also highlighted. Another longtime WWE staffer said it would have been easy for her just to be concerned about her creative surrounding the title. Fightful have also heard that there are situations where she was supposed to dominate and was happy to give her opponent more offense in an effort to get her opponent more over. In addition, Damian Priest's work ethic was praised, especially for his work with Bad Bunny. Originally, there was a tag team match set for that show at Backlash, and WWE sources told Fightful that everyone felt comfortable enough with Bad Bunny in the ring for their WWE Backlash match, which ended up, of course, being a singles match. It was a San Juan street fight. Dominic Mysterio received praise for his advanced schedule, which has seen him do a lot of media obligations with the success of his new character. Beyond that, Fightful were told that WWE has been putting Dominic in a variety of situations against a variety of opponents in the ring in order to get him used to a variety of styles and opponents. Of course, people forget that he's only been wrestling for a few years still, so certainly he's making great strides, particularly with this heel character and his feud with his father, Rey Mysterio. Braun Strowman, of course, Braun Strowman, the monster among men, is currently on the shelf with an injury, and he's struggling to deal with it. Braun Strowman is struggling with life on the injured list. The former WWE Universal Champion suffered a serious neck injury that required neck fusion surgery and vented his frustrations over his inactivity on Twitter. Quote, "I'm not gonna lie, this is hard," Strowman wrote on social media. "I hate not being able to do what I love, especially after it was taken away from me 2 years ago. Being back where I love and then again having it taken away by things that I couldn't control yet again is hard. I just want to wrestle." Strowman's injury was first reported in late May, with further reports in June that Strowman had been released from the hospital following successful surgery. There is currently no word on how long Strowman will be out with his injury, but it is expected to be a significant amount of time, as all creative pictures for him have been tabled. Before the injury, Strowman was in a successful and popular tag team with Ricochet, who helped Strowman overcome his prejudice against smaller athletic wrestlers. The team had seemingly been on track to be involved in the tag team title scene before Strowman was struck down by his neck injury. Ricochet was recently moved back to singles competition and qualified for the upcoming men's Money in the Bank ladder match at the eponymous event at the O2 Arena in London, England on July 1st by defeating The Miz on a late May episode of Monday Night Raw. So here's hoping Braun Strowman can make his recovery sooner rather than later. We wish him the best in his recovery. Cody Rhodes' dog, PHARAOH, made his Raw debut last night. The first dog of pro wrestling has made it to, some would say, the big leagues. Cody Rhodes' beloved dog, PHARAOH, made his WWE television debut on Monday's edition of Raw on USA Network, appearing in a backstage segment where Rhodes addressed his rivalry with the Judgment Day. The cameras caught PHARAOH proudly wearing his American Nightmare bandana and being a good boy. Through the segment, Rhodes said he was hoping to put his issues with Judgment Day in the rear view with a victory over Dominic Mysterio at Money in the Bank. Quote, "They have been effective. That's a skill. It truly is," Rhodes said of the Judgment Day, trying to get into his head. "But at Money in the Bank, Dom is not going to have Finn Balor, Rhea Ripley or Damian Priest, and I haven't laid a finger on Dirty Dom, so I guess we'll find out what he does have." The segment marked PHARAOH's first sighting on a wrestling program since he was infamously scared during a pyro incident at All Out in 2019. During his appearance on WWE's The Bump last year, Rhodes detailed the mishap, noting that some genius powered the pyro off even though his entrance was not supposed to feature explosions. Rhodes also noted that PHARAOH had not flinched since then, but did not hold the incident against him, proving that he truly is man's best friend. Rhodes also vowed that the WWE Universe would eventually get some sort of PHARAOH interaction at some juncture, and it appears Monday's Raw was the first of many WWE appearances for the Siberian Husky. Now that PHARAOH has been introduced to the WWE Universe, the question beckons, would Rhodes be flanked to the ring by his best friend in future matches? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Now, let's switch gears here and talk about The Miz, because The Miz is seemingly set for a feud with TOMMASO Ciampa moving forward. Miz is too proud of a veteran to allow a younger counterpart to dominate him on a weekly basis. A week after suffering a loss to the returning TOMMASO Ciampa, the A-lister was due for a rematch against his former on-screen protege on Monday's edition of Raw. Prior to the match, Ciampa referred to The Miz as Mr. Tiny Balls and vowed that he would never play second fiddle to someone like him again. Clearly upset with Ciampa's words, The Miz used the opportunity to make a massive statement. Just as Ciampa made his entrance, The Miz jumped from behind and sent the former DIY member crashing into the barricade twice, causing the referees to call for the bell. Thereafter, The Miz slung Ciampa's ankle into the LED apron twice and followed it up with vicious kicks to the head. At this point, Tiny Balls chants erupted from the Enmarket Arena in Savannah, Georgia, prompting an irate Miz to further target his former partner's ankles with a suplex to the barricade. The segment ended with The Miz nailing a skull-crushing finale on the concrete floor. After Raw went off the air, The Miz explained why he was upset at Ciampa for sucker punching him during his WWE return instead of embracing him with a hug. "That's the thanks I get for everything I've done for him," The Miz asked Byron Saxton, "for all the opportunities I've given him. Is he mad that I didn't call him? Boo freaking who? I don't call anybody. We were just in Cleveland, my hometown, and do you think I called anybody? No, I don't call them. They call me. They want to hang out with me. I'm the superstar. Do we understand that? Put some respect on my name. I am tired of the lack of respect that I get. I'm the two-time Grand Slam champion. I'm the veteran." So The Miz seemingly set to face off against Ciampa at some point in the near future. Finally, a title match has been announced for this weekend's Money in the Bank event. After being outnumbered by Imperium in recent weeks, Matt Riddle will finally get a chance at vengeance when he battles Gunther one-on-one for the Intercontinental Championship this Sunday at Money in the Bank. Since injuring Giovanni Vinci a few weeks ago, Gunther, along with Ludwig Kaiser, has been ganging up on the original Bro, targeting his ankle in the process. But on Monday Night Raw, Riddle challenged the Ring General to put his championship on the line on Saturday. After getting tangled up with Kaiser again, Gunther struck with a boot to the face before accepting the challenge and stomping on his soon-to-be opponent's ankle yet again. Gunther enters Saturday's match as the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of the 21st century. He's held the title for over a year now, having won it from Ricochet on June 10th of last year. His most recent defense came last month against Mustafa Ali at Night of Champions, where he only needed 9 minutes to pick up the victory. And while Riddle may prove to be a tougher challenge when the two meet at the O2 Arena, there's every chance the numbers game proves advantageous once again. Nonetheless, he'll be looking to win singles gold for the first time since February 2021, when he defeated Bobby Lashley and John Morrison in a triple threat match for the United States Championship. So there you go, guys. This is the latest WWE news for you. Be sure to smash that like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.